Hey yo, welcome back to Monsters of the Gridiron podcast with me, Swift, and I guess Will is gonna be late on the check-in. We just talked to him a few minutes ago. He was super hyped about talking about this Luke Getsy news as well as his presser. Uh, again, welcome to Monsters of the Gridiron podcast, where we bring facts and knowledge over narratives. I got my boy Swift over here. How you doing today?
Man, I'm chilling. Ready to, I guess, talk about all the news that went down today.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, as you all in the chat may know, and those of you that are watching that are not in the chat, Luke Getsy was fired as of this morning as the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. A lot of us have been wanting to hear this news, amongst other news. Some of us are divided. Some of us wanted him to stay. Some of them wanted Eberflus gone. And so we'll talk about that throughout this show. But first things first, we're gonna go ahead and just talk about Lou Getsy and our feelings on this particular firing. Swift, did the news hit you? How the news hit you?
Man, I was excited. It happened pretty much first thing this morning. I first tweet of the day, and a minute after I tweeted it, the news broke. And someone commented on my tweet immediately. Calm down, Swift. Getsy is gone. And I'm like, oh, yes, Getsy is gone. And I immediately begin kicking my research into offensive coordinator candidates into high gear, and also kind of, just breaking down and evaluating the situation overall. What does it mean that Luke Getsy's gone? Eberflus is still here. Most of the offensive staff is gone. There's a lot to take in on this. It's a good day to be a Bears fan. I think overall my take from this is very positive, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I got the Nagy been fired vibes until they said everybody else is being retained on the defensive side, but it's all good. I think Matt did a decent job, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We were just talking about, the feelings. How did it hit you when you got the notification, or if you was watching a sports show? How did it feel?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I was heading to an operations meeting, and then my phone started buzzing. And when it ran across breaking news, Luke Getsy has been terminated. Look, I almost stopped on the middle of the interstate and just was like, Lord, you answer prayers. Like, to me, that was the highlight of my day, because at the end of the day, it's like when you look at what's been holding us back as an offense, we can say the line, we can say lack of consistent play from the skill set players, Justin, but ultimately it boiled down to Luke. So, hey, if you weren't excited after today, like, to me, it's a step in the right direction. Like point blank, it's so much to unravel, and I know we're gonna get into the press conferences and things like that, but just that as the initial jolt going into the off season, hey, I'm almost speechless, and that never happens.
That is a fact. Um, but man, I was like I said, I was excited. I was driving myself earlier today, and I had to text my wife. She hardly be knowing what's going on, but she acts interested. At least she's in the chat right now. TJ Baskerville, shout out. Y'all like up the video, put the comments in, subscribe if you haven't already. But I was super excited. I've been waiting on this news since half a season. I was so tired of Lou Getsy not catering or continuously catering and tailoring the offense to Justin Fields' strengths as well as the deep ball. I think that cost Mooney a lot as well. And I know a lot of people are out on Mooney, but I feel like Getsy really is the real reason why he didn't produce like he should have. Coming off the injury, I feel like um, he could have been used a lot more in different ways. Even if you're not trying to stretch the field, I believe he could have been intermediate option, anything. If DJ Moore is at 97 catches and Cole Kmet is at 70, you got to be able to get Mooney involved. But I feel y'all. I'm super excited. I'm pretty just like over the moon and kind of numb as well, because now we're at that situation where we got to figure out who's next, and that's scary. I trust Ryan Poles to do and get the right person in there, but Matt Eberflus, let's get our thoughts on that. So, Will, give me your thoughts when you heard immediately after or sometime after the Getsy news drop that Matt Eberflus was being retained.
Well, I was already mentally prepared because, it's like, I was like, man, you got Harbaugh getting ready to enter, and then Vrabel, you got a bunch of great coaching candidates out there. But if you really pay attention, like I tell people to do, and not just overreact just because you don't like Eberflus and you don't like Poles, or you don't like the decisions they're making. When the players have a voice, believe it or not, and the mere fact that he turned this thing around, all the players spoke highly of him. We're in a win mode now. We showed improvement after starting 0-4. He kept the locker room together. You got to look at all the positive things from a leadership perspective. He blew 3 games. We can't deny that. 3 games were blown. But again, we're in the second year of a rebuild when these guys were learning how to win. And it's not to make an excuse for Eberflus, but at the end of the day, I give him a C+ at the end of the year, trending towards a B as far as his ability to keep the troops engaged. I'm not going to necessarily say super motivated. I'm going to say engaged. So when you look at the overall body of work with some more pieces added, and a defensive coordinator, like I don't know. I got several guys I'm looking at in OC, which I think it's going to be a group effort in selecting these coordinators after the debacle we just had with Luke and with Alan Williams. Hey, I think Eberflus, he's a valuable option. I'll say that. And I think we can win with him as long as he understands that you got to stay aggressive. And that's on both sides of the ball. To me, that's the biggest issue that I have. Other than that, I don't have a problem with the Flus.
Swift, how are you feeling?
To me, I kind of always felt that Eberflus was going to come back. I never really, once the defense turned it around, once we got Montez Sweat, which I kind of talked about all along, we didn't have the pass rushers to run his offense or defense. I'm sorry. And once we got Montez Sweat, that clearly changed. This offense got, I keep saying offense, this defense got a lot better. We were top 10 in the NFL. We were getting pressure on people. The Sweat effect was real. And the defense and this team, they believed in Eberflus and they fought hard down the stretch, even though we were eliminated from playoff contention. You don't like how the last game of the season ended, but up until that Packer game, this team fought really hard, and you had to love that. So I never really expected Eberflus to go anywhere. I think he has to really continue building this thing and working with Ryan Poles. I think the big part of that is Ryan Poles trusts him, and they have a really good working relationship. They're able to communicate with each other on their strengths and their weaknesses, and I think that's a big part of why he's still here.
Yeah, I like that. I do like how Matt Eberflus was able to navigate the season, starting off with all the problems with Williams and the staff, as well as the Chase Claypool debacle, all those things, and keeping the team together, keeping the players level-headed, and even with Jalen Johnson's contract situation and several others. You've seen Cole Kmet get a contract. You've seen Montez Sweat get a contract, and you didn't see very much turmoil in the media, clapbacks, tweets, and all type of scrubbing accounts type of things that you see with other teams. So I feel like he did a good job of corralling everything. And as a player's coach, I think he did his job on that side. And as Will said, I agree. I do look at those 3 losses, those double-digit losses where what happened? We got to clean that up. You got to stay aggressive. You got to keep your foot on the gas when you're up. And we seen it in the Packers game. When you're not aggressive, when you're constantly playing off the wide receivers, any wide receiver and quarterback combination can eat you up. So in my opinion, next year or in 2024 through this draft and the free agency, you can add more talent, you can add more pass rush, and you have no excuses. I understand that his scheme is slightly based on the pass rush, like getting those 4 in pressure into the backfield, and then you can create turnovers with errant passes or quarterbacks getting a little happy feet. So hopefully adding some pressure, adding some demons on the D line can help that out, where we don't have to necessarily blitz 5, 6, 7 people to actually get pressure. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm just glad Getsy is gone. Somebody was gone, and hopefully this means some great things for the offense and also Justin Fields. And if not, I just feel like I'm glad he's gone. So whoever the quarterback is in 2024 can flourish. So while we speaking on that, we can discuss our favorite offensive coordinator options. Swift, do you got anybody in mind or multiple people in mind?
Yeah, I think this is one where, I dropped a video on this already. So people out there, if you're checking out Swift Sports, I got this already. But my top 5 guys that I'm really looking at, I think really fit in right now are going to be Pep Hamilton, Jim Caldwell, Darrell Bevel, Clint Kubiak, and then Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron's a name that came available potentially just very recently with the news that Pete Carroll is stepping away from head coaching and moving into more of an advisor role. The Seahawks offensive coordinator could potentially be available right now. Now, does he want to come here? I don't know. I think Jim Caldwell, Pep Hamilton, and Darrell Bevel right now, as far as things go, are probably the most 3 realistic options out there. Now, we'll see once interviews and everything get announced. That could change. No idea. Poles is he's gonna spread this search far and wide. And he talked about in the presser today. I don't want to talk about the presser really at this second, but what he said was, we're going to not only ask these guys what their plan for Justin Fields would be, but what's your plan for Caleb Williams? What's your plan for all these quarterbacks that we could potentially have? And he wants to hear how diverse these guys are and just what their football intellect is like. And he'll be able to tell that with how broad of a search and just how many options we have at quarterback this offseason. So I'm excited. I know a lot of people will say, oh man, no one's going to want to come be offensive coordinator underneath Matt Eberflus because he's a lame duck head coach. I don't think he's lame duck. I think Eberflus and Poles have a great relationship, and I think they're going to continue to collaborate and find an offensive coordinator together. And if you look at, you're going to have Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, and you're going to have DJ Moore, potentially Rome Odunze or Marvin Harrison Jr. This is going to be a good offense, and people are going to want this job. That's where I'm at on it.
Nice. Will, go ahead.
Yeah, my top 5 after doing some studying, it pretty much resembles Swift. I'm looking at because I've been saying Greg Roman, then I looked at Pep Hamilton. He'd be a great fit. Darrell Bevel, Eric Bieniemy, and then after seeing the latest firing of Pete Carroll today and the staff being told to look for jobs, I added Shane Waldron. He jumped in my top 5, and I'm seeing a lot of chat on Twitter where people saying it's going to be hard for us to attract good OC, good DC. Like, no, because you got to think about something. A lot of people want to work with Justin Fields, and a lot of people want to potentially work with Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. So, like Swift said, the net needs to be casted far and wide, and everybody needs to come in with something innovative and creative as to how you would adapt your play calling to that specific signal caller. And when you look at what we have in DJ Moore, and then you add potentially a Roma Dunze or Marvin Harrison Jr. or Keon Coleman or Malik Neighbors, like this is a very enticing job with the capital that we have in the draft, but also free agency. So OC will have the opportunity to come in here and put their stamp where we explode this upcoming year, and they'll be in for a head coaching position the following year. So despite what we're seeing on Twitter with a lot of people that are upset because they didn't get what they wanted today, because, you know, no matter how you look at it, if you really look at it and then you listen to what the players were saying, the writing was on the wall far and wide. So I think either one of those five can come in and elevate the offense to a much higher height than what we saw with the Lukester in place.
This man gave him a nickname. Fuck all
The
that.
Lukester, goodbye.
The Lukester.
The Lukester. What is this? A ECW match? Well, me personally, I don't really have any favorite candidates. I kind of want to see what they come up with. You know, I like some of the guys that you all said, but really, all in all, I want whoever is coming in as OC, I need them to cater and tailor the offense to whoever is the quarterback in 2024, and not try to go rogue, not try to be this evil genius where they're coming up with all these different schemes and things that don't fit the personnel, as well as, you know, just trying to over implement things. Like, keep it simple, stupid. Let you know what was working the last half of 2022. Why didn't we go back to that more often and mix in things? If you want to go deep occasionally, if you want to have longer developing plays like Will talked about in the first episode, you know what I'm saying? Mix that in. Keep the run game going. I don't understand why the run game was on point for 5 games when Tyson Bagent was in, and then all of a sudden cratered, you know, and especially with benching Dante Foreman. That was wild. But really, whether Fields is the quarterback, which we all want, at least this panel, we all want, or it's Caleb Williams, Drake May, or whoever, I need the offensive coordinator as well as the staff itself, the front office, Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, if he's still here. Let's put this 2024 quarterback. I don't know who it's going to be. We don't know. And we'll talk about the presser and kind of give, you know, our ideas of what may be coming. But I just need them to put them in the best position. Give them the weapons like Will talked about, you know, give them a Dunze, MHJ, Neighbors, somebody. Give them somebody on the other side to throw to, you know, build it up. Even if you go 1-2 with a wide receiver and Bowers, just give us as many weapons as we can and put us in the best place, put the quarterback in the best place to be successful from the start of the season. Like, I'm tired of these slow starts, 4 or 5 games in. We don't have an identity on offense, and we're still trying to figure it out. It's enough. So we're going to go ahead. This is going to probably be a little shorter episode because it's an emergency pod. And, you know, we got the news and we wanted to get something out to you all. So we're going to go into the takeaways from the presser. Sorry if you haven't watched it yet. Here's your spoiler. So in the presser, we had Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, all speaking and being asked different questions in regards to the team, the draft, even the stadium talk. Like, I forgot about that after all of this coaching news. I haven't thought about where the stadium is going to be in probably months. But Swift, what were some of your takeaways from this presser?
Man, there was just so much in this presser. I feel like anyone who hasn't listened to it yet, you got to go back listen to Ryan Poles because he's always a great talk. I think possibly the biggest thing he said is he's not looking to trade the number 1 overall pick before free agency. And he's probably going to hold on to it all the way up until April. Now, some people will take that as, oh, that means he's getting rid of Fields. No, I think that means, like I said earlier in the offseason, we're not going to be getting a player with that pick. It's going to be a pick. It's going to be a trade for more draft picks. He's going to trade for picks. He wants a ton of picks, and he's going to try to get that value as high as possible all the way up to the last day. And there's, other than that, I mean, I got to go back and rewatch it because there's so much still going on. I've been working all day and looking for coaches, looking at other things, and that's a presser. As soon as we're done here, I'm gonna go back and re-listen. But that was my biggest takeaway from it.
Will?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is I watched all three. Like when I heard Flus talk, you know, he spoke highly of Justin, his growth. When I heard Poles talk, you know, he gave accountability for the mistake he made with Claypool, which again, I tell everybody, in any job, you're not going to hit on anything 100%. So the fact that he stood up and stated that was on him, but like he had a lot of hits with Sweat, you know, with Moore, including him in that trade with Tyreek Stevenson. So, and just hearing what all of them a lot in lockstep, and then just to tie it off with Kevin Warren here, what he said about his experiences with Dick Vermeil and hearing his experiences, you know, in Minnesota. How, you know, they had slow starts the first couple of years, but when you're building something, you got to stay the course, and you don't just rip everything up in the middle of a rebuild. So as I'm listening to the tone and the context, and then he spoke highly of the draft capital and the free agency, where we are in the cap. Like, to me, that lets me know with some tweaks, and the tweaks were eliminating Luke Getsy because, like, he was on everyone's radar as the one that was really holding us back due to, you know, inefficient play calling, inconsistent play calling. To me, it's like, I feel Justin's coming back, and they're getting ready to build these trenches on both sides, because the trenches, no matter how we talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. and a Dunze, but if Justin or Caleb or whoever's the signal caller's on his back, none of that even matters. So I think they've identified the deficiencies, and like I said, when DJ Moore said what he said, they listen to these players. So people don't understand when you do a sensing session and people really pouring out to you, emotionally telling you, like, look, if we'd have did this, if we'd had more shot plays, like, they're telling you subliminally who and what the issue was. Guess what? We 10-7. We're 11-6. So I think realistically, from those three pressures, if you really listened in tune, it gave you all the answers that you truly needed. And I think when free agency hits and we see the acquisitions that are made, that's going to give us further validation and confirmation what direction we're going in the draft.
And then a final point he made, I mean, I don't know if anybody heard this or remember this, but he said Jalen Johnson isn't going anywhere, just so people know. So that's a good one.
Man, that's a great one.
Yeah, one of I just had it up. Here we go. David was saying his favorite line, or the other Poles line today during the press conference. Jalen Johnson. That hyped me up. I was almost hoping for the news on Getsy as well as a contract extension for Jalen Johnson, and that would have just took it up. But you know, it'll come. He said it's gonna come. I'm gonna believe it's gonna come, and we all good. But the takeaways I got from the presser is the same thing that he did last year. Ryan Poles was cookie cutter pretty much, and I love it. Keeping things to the vest, like somebody said in the chat, keeping it close to home. I think the only person that may have tipped their hand, and I posted a tweet about it under my podcast, 3 Point Stands podcast, Twitter, is at the end of Matt Eberflus talking about Justin Fields. He said he's going to continue to grow as the Bears continue to grow. I don't know if anybody caught that, but Ryan Poles was kind of looking at him the whole time, never flinched, and I loved it because I caught it. Maybe some other people caught it. Maybe some people think that it's gamesmanship. That's how I feel. I feel like it's going to be a nice, fun game to watch through this off season to see how they take on things, how they go through these interviews. Once it leads up to free agency as well as the draft, how long it takes for this deal to get done. We didn't expect the trade of the number one pick last year in the first week or so of March. So we never know what we're going to get with Pose, which is really exciting to have a GM like that that's not scared to take the risks, even though we have a sector of Bears fans that really don't like that. And I get it. You guys like the value. You hate misses, but that's the part of being a GM and trying to improve the team. So I got Poker Face, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, diarrhea of the mouth a little bit at the end, but they all, or they both, at least, before I get to Kevin Warren, talked about the improvement in Justin Fields, and they feel that he's going to continue to grow. And I love that Ryan Poles is sticking straight to someone has to blow me away for me to give this up.
I think his point he was making there, what I took from it was, I do think Fields is going to remain a quarterback here in Chicago, but I also think it means he could also draft a quarterback.
Absolutely.
And that's something we've never done in Chicago when we draft a quarterback and let him set and learn. I mean, look at even Jordan Love and the guys who had success. Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers both set for 3 full seasons.
Yes.
So we can still draft a quarterback at some point, even if it's not number 1 overall. And I think that's going to go into the evaluation process as well is, hey, look, right now we think Justin is good enough to win with, but maybe we also want to take another shot on a quarterback if there's someone in the draft we really like. But we can still trade down from number 1 overall and acquire additional assets. I'm hoping his plan with that is he's going to try to drum up a ton of interest and then get one of the Commanders or Patriots to pay up a couple picks and jump up just 1 or 2 spots, and he can come out with Marvin Harrison Jr. and some draft picks. So that's my dream.
Because think about it. I'm going to add one quick bit, like what you just said about Jordan Love. Like, do y'all realize who Jordan Love was throwing to when they played us this past Sunday? Bo Melton. Who is that? Number 80.
Speedster, man.
Number 18. So what I'm saying is he's been in that system for 3-4 years. And then on top of that, he was groomed by following in Aaron Rodgers' path. So we can sit here all day and be like, man, Jordan Love is this and Jordan Love is that. But he showed us not having the same skill set as Justin. If you're in that system with familiarity, working with all those different players, which, oh, by the way, are in there in year 1 or 2, that's what we need as far as development on the offensive side. That's what we need our coaches to come in like Matt LaFleur with that system and integrate our pass catchers and rest in peace, Tyke Tolbert. I hate that he got terminated because, Tyke's a good dude. But again, if you're not, other than DJ Moore, you didn't develop none of those wide receivers because let's be honest, did Velus Jones develop? Did Tyler Scott develop? Darnell Mooney disappeared up to the point where he went and checked in for concussion protocol. That's the first time I've ever seen someone check in.
He took some hit. I mean, I remember the hit he took in that game, that last game he took. I thought they were going to take him out of the game, and they never did. It was late in the game, though. But, yeah, Mooney got jacked.
But all in all, our wide receivers never truly developed. So I think that's part of the reason why Tyke Tolbert got the axe.
Yeah, that's true. And that was something that Getsy was supposed to be really good at, was developing wide receivers, and it didn't ever seem to take place here. So,
yeah. But going back to Swift's point, I do hope that happens as well. I hope we get the trade back, get maximum value for the number one pick. If it's 3, that's fine. I did tweet out a little bit earlier about the possibility because to me, firing an OC could mean two things. It could mean that you're firing their OC, obviously, because you feel that they didn't do a good enough job to develop the quarterback, the young quarterback that you have right now, as well as they didn't establish a consistent offense. Then on the other hand, you could be firing that OC, and that new OC coming in could either be helping to continue develop Justin Fields in an offense that is tailored to Justin Fields' skill set, as well as the wide receivers and pass catchers that we have now, as well as in the future, whether they're drafted or free agency. Or on the other hand, he could be being brought in to develop the new quarterback that's coming in and tailor an offense to him. But I do like the idea of, and not really very many people have talked about it, and I like that Swift brought it up, having an insurance quarterback, regardless if it's to compete with Fields or to back up Fields. I like Tyson Bagent, but if you can get a day two quarterback that you really like, that can be great insurance or a grade or upgrade over Tyson Bagent and move him to QB3, I like it. Especially if you trade back, you gain more assets, you get an extra second or third pick, and you draft that quarterback in the third. I look at the Titans situation where you knew they were done with Ryan Tannehill, so they drafted Will Levis. I look at Detroit, where Goff is probably going to be the quarterback for the next few years, but they still drafted Hooker, right, in the third round. And then the Jalen Hurts situation, Carson Wentz, that's kind of the closest, if you think about it, to our situation, where he was successful in 2019. I think they won the NFC or their division title at the time. And then, surprise, they drafted Jalen Hurts. So that situation may be a little iffy. It's going to be rocky. It's going to cause some turmoil in the Bears community, especially on Bears Twitter, as we know, because the first time Justin Fields fails or has a bad game, everybody's going to be clamoring for the next quarterback, just like they did with Tyson Bagent, which was sad because they praised the quarterback that had a 51.2 QBR, ratio of 3 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And I'm trying to figure out how that excites you, but I like Tyson Bagent as a backup. So I think we touched on everything that we're going to touch on right now. Kevin Warren mostly talked about, Arlington Heights, Chicago being a beautiful place. We all know that. If you've been to Chicago, if you live in Chicago, we know our city is top notch. I feel like it's the best city in the world as well, for views, architect, or whatever. You guys got any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Go ahead, Will.
The only final thoughts I got is that this off season is off to a positive start. I think that, and we didn't even get to talk about quarterback coaches, because I've been looking at Chase Daniels and Dan Orlovsky talking about putting their names in the hat. It's been kind of comical, but I just think, like, look, I think we're on an upward trajectory. We're gonna get the right people in here. I truly believe, and I think we're gonna get some great talent, as Kevin Warren he mentioned, with the draft capital, but also the free agency cap space that we have. I just think we're in for a great ride. And even though we was frustrated this past year, we're gonna stay positive, project positive energy. And I think this is gonna be the start of the long-term sustainability that we got to experience back in the 80s. It's gonna be special, guys.
I kind of want to, I feel like there's a lot of positive that came from this, even though Eberflus isn't gone and we didn't get Jim Harbaugh. I know. But hey, I think Justin Fields is staying. I think we're going to continue building this team that we've been building. And I trust Ryan Poles. So appreciate everybody that's out there watching. Hit that like button for us. We're trying to grow something cool here. And stay tuned.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm pretty much good with everything. I'm excited about the off season. I'm excited to uh call Swift 20 times a day while he's at the Senior Bowl at the end of the month. He's going down there, so you guys, we might be able to get some pictures and video and throw some shorts and throw some. Obviously, Swift is going to do his thing and he's going to produce his part, but I look forward to that. It's great to um, know that one of our guys will be down there and we can pick his brain when he's back. So again, we appreciate you all for checking out the episode, for tuning in. Please share, talk about Monsters of the Gridiron podcast, subscribe, hit the follow button on Twitter. Y'all know where to find us mostly. So we appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you. Peace.